Hi, everyone.
Oh,
I
we're
was gonna say there
recording.
was no preamble.
So, no, I was waiting for you to say something stupid, and you stopped talking, and I was like, shit, it's not going to
I was
work.
waiting for some conversation to start. Hi, everyone.
We're
Hi.
talking about stuff.
Yeah, today on Beer Protocol, which is the name of our show about talking about the Marvel Crisis Protocol game put forward by Atomic Mass Games, we're going to be talking about one of the leaders of the X-Men affiliation, Cyclops, also known as Scott Summers.
Bitch.
So, before we continue on to his card, we have some things to get out of the way. James,
It's backwards. Damn it.
I was gonna see you've dipped back into the well of danger.
I did. It's the
Oh
Imperial
God,
Stout.
James, stop it.
Oh no, it's so delicious. Gluten sensitivity out the window. Guinness's Imperial Stout, aged in bourbon barrels, is the most delicious thing I've ever tasted in my entire life.
I'm happy for you. I'm not going to be happy with what happens to you soon, but
My-
I'm happy for
My
you in
little
this
Irish
moment.
heart is just going boom, boom, boom.
Our
I'm happy
other
for
host,
you. I feel terrible for Anne, but I'm happy for you. I am drinking a gluten-free beer because I have gluten sensitivity and know how to take care of myself. I'm drinking Omission Pale Ale. It's not the better one. Their lager's better, but the liquor store was
fair.
out.
Also, who are you?
Oh, I'm Matt. I don't know how to play this game, but I keep showing up anyway.
You're the noob.
And we love you for it. And I'm Jacob, and I am drinking the last of my Mount Defiance straight bourbon whiskey in an old fashioned.
Nice. Well, gentlemen,
Where's your cherry?
clink.
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 He already ate it.
Oh.
To be fair, I didn't put an orange peel or a cherry in it because I was just like, we need to record in 5 minutes. Liquor, bitters, sugar.
Yeah.
Pretty much
So
nailed it.
let's talk about Scott the Whiner Summers.
All right, I have a huge bone to pick with you. You have a bone to pick with Cyclops. I have a bone to pick with you. Matt, whose bone do you want to hear first?
Don't, Matt. Don't go there. Don't go there.
Itty bitty bitey bow. Gingers always win, so.
Fair. So, my esteemed opponent has several arguments about how Cyclops is whiny.
He's a bitch.
And not cool, and other slurs upon this man's honor. Meanwhile, I would point out, how much about Cyclops do you actually know other than the live-action X-Men movies?
Oh no, it's also the cartoons and the comics. Like when he actually did X Factor, I think it was X Factor. Like he became cool because it was just kind of like, things need to get done, and if that involves killing people, do it. And then, like halfway through, he was just like, "But I love Phoenix, and I can't be evil anymore." And
I like how you cut out. So, my counter argument is that Scott Summers is, in terms of comic books, probably one of the more archetypical lawful good type characters, like right up there with Captain America. So why is Cyclops bad and whiny
because he parts
and
his hair in
Captain
the middle.
America good?
Oh no, I can't kill people. I have to follow the law and do good things.
No, Phoenix, stop being evil. I love you.
You realize with like a different protagonist, that would just be straight up the power of love and love redeems.
Like he literally puts his hand to his forehead, takes a stapler. Ah.
So I guess I'm confused because I see a guy who, according to the lore, is like second only to Captain America in terms of like team tactics and leadership.
Yeah, but Captain America's
cool.
cool.
But why is he cool and Cyclops dumb?
So because
he's first loser, he's second to him.
So in the MCU, they made Captain America a true lawful good, a true
I'd almost
stand
argue
up for
lawful
American.
good, neutral good.
I mean, he stands up for law and order, and whether or not, well, he's probably. Yeah. Anyway, but he is.
Do you remember Winter Soldier in every Captain America movie other than the first one, where he is specifically bucking against the established government?
But he's standing up for the people's rights, and he stands up for what he believes is good, even if something else says it's not good. So
that's why I put him at a neutral good, not lawful, not chaotic.
I can see that. Cyclops, on the other hand, is he's the type of person who would be like, there's a law in Virginia that says you can only have sex by sleeping by doing the missionary position. Well, I guess all other positions are out. Like, he's that kind of level of an asshole. Like,
So you're thinking he's
he's
lawful stupid.
he's the type of person who's just
Yes,
like,
he is.
stop going 36. It's a 35. Yes.
But I see a dude who could shoot giant blasts out of his eyes and is constantly restraining himself from murdering everyone around him with just the slightest, easing up on the self-control.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's an uptight asshole, but I don't know.
No,
I
you
just think
named it right there.
Cyclops is unnecessarily dumped on. His fashion sense is terrible, but that's because all of the X-Men's designs were of an era where the fashion sense was terrible.
I mean, at least he's got feet that look normal.
That's true. He does have feet.
That is fair.
Maybe we'll put a link on our YouTube page in the comments. But there is a video my friend showed me for charity. Rob Liefeld and McFarland created a character called Overkill and drew him in 20 minutes. Basically, they had 20 minutes to sketch out this character, give him a logo, give him a costume design. Over their shoulder for those 20 minutes was Stan Lee. Starting slowly, just throwing the most shade you could possibly imagine.
Of course. Stan Lee, he's awesome.
And then getting less subtle and less subtle. And at one point you realize, oh shit, McFarland has caught on. And Liefeld has not. And so McFarland also starts piling on Liefeld. Just like, Now what is this costume for? How long does it take him to get out of that? What is the practical purpose of these shoulder pads?
Why does he have so many pouches? What does he use all those pouches for?
Why the cape?
Exactly that. Like, I think at one point, Stan Lee just looks like, oh, you put cannons on his hands. You don't have to draw the hands. Smart.
God, how did he ever become a cartoonist?
It's some grade A content. I'll see if I can find that video and share it with you guys.
All right, well, let's talk about this idiot.
Let's talk about Cyclops. So, in the game of Marvel Crisis Protocol, Cyclops has the affiliation of the Uncanny X-Men. He's in the first affiliation to have two different leaders right now. The other one being the Brotherhood of Mutants. Since they spoiled these guys first, they get the credit of being first. He splits it with him and Storm.
He's the least
Cyclops.
cool one.
I have disagreements with you. So, Cyclops comes in with his basic stats. He is 6 stamina, good amount of health, medium movement, size 2, 4 threat. So, 4 means Cyclops is going to need to do work. He's going to need to have a variety of abilities, and he's going to need to be impactful on the battlefield. He's not allowed to be a one-trick pony to feel like he's going to be bringing in the most value for points.
He's just not cool enough to be a 5.
His defenses are solid. He has 4 physical, 3 energy, and 3 mystic. No weak points, solid to good defenses across the board. That goes well with his basic stamina. Cyclops will be relatively sturdy. His first attack, the Optic Blast. Range 4, power 5, 0 cost. After this attack is resolved, he gains power equal to the damage dealt. Pretty standard 0 cost attack. On a wild, he can push. If the target character is size 2 or less, before damage is dealt, it can be pushed away from this character short. So, a range 4, 5 dice attack that gains you power and has a wild for push is solid. That's a workhorse attack.
Still don't care.
All right, James. All right.
Oh, we haven't gotten to the rest of it yet.
Give me his powerful attack. Yeah, give me his powerful attack.
His powerful attack. Optic Devastation. Beam 5.
Mm-hmm.
Maximum range beam attack. The only other beam 5 attack in the game is on Iron Man. This is better. 7 dice for damage, cost 4.
Yeah.
So it's a beam 5 that only costs 4. That's actually somewhat reasonable. And as a wild, concussive force. After each attack is resolved, the target character loses 1 power. So on wilds, he takes away power from the opponents he hits.
Yeah, that sounds good. Mm-hmm.
It's a beam attack.
Beam attack is basically you place down a ruler, which is size 5, and you hit everything under that ruler.
But for how far away from him?
It's size 5. It's the
5.
5. It's the longest ruler. It's size 5.
It's just one
Yep.
straight line.
Yep.
But
So
The width of the ruler.
But how wide's the ruler? Like a quarter
inch.
of an inch?
No, it's an inch.
it's like maybe half inch to an inch. It's
No, it's 1. It's 1 inch.
It's sizable.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound that cool. How if my opponent knows I got Cyclops, why would he line them all up in a line like that?
That's why you have pushes
We'll
and
get to
stuff
that in a
like that.
That's why you can do shenanigans. So, his affiliation ability, X-Men Blue. Once per turn, when an allied character declares an attack action, but before it chooses an attack to use, any number of allied characters within 3 can spend 1 power. For each 1 power spent in this way, reduce the power cost of the attacking character's attacks by 1 to a minimum of 1 for this attack action. So Cyclops' team ability is the entire team can pay 4 powerful attacks, not just the individual. So with good coordination and teamwork, you can unleash your strongest attacks more often.
Oh, you're going to put everyone within 3 of Cyclops so you can do his beam attack more often? Thank you. I'm going to murder people who use this. If you're going to be standing around one character within 3 to do stuff, it is going to be a target for Magneto just nuking the heck out of you. It's going to be a target for anything that's going to be like, oh, I hit this character and these characters. I'm going to throw you into your friends. I'm going to do anything I possibly can. I hate this power.
Is this where I point out that throwing short is smaller than range 3? And that no AoE attack in the game goes out to 3?
I'm still okay with this, and I can still get you because I can throw some bigger things.
Yeah, so you need at least a medium throw. If they're 3 away.
With the amount of pushes and throws and all the other stuff, you being within, like, I can understand the size 3 is a very large area in the game. It's a pretty big area. Unless you're standing exactly outside of it, like unless you're just like you're towed in, and not towed in, toe in.
So what about when the battle gets to the melee fracas around the central secure objective?
It will be great for 1 round until I punish you for doing it. Now, it says once per turn.
James, I'm really confused why you think this is so punishable, because this is something that just happens.
I
like,
don't
this is
like
really
it.
common.
I don't like it.
I feel like you really just want to hate an ability. Just so you can hate Cyclops.
No. I
genuinely feel like you just don't like this character.
I don't like this ability. I don't like team affiliations that say you have to be within a certain range of something else to use. Because it's forcing you...
Have you read the other one for X-Men?
I don't like that one either. It forces
Have you read Magneto's cover ability, which also requires you to put your team within 3 of Magneto?
That's not.
So let me guess. You have a boner for that one, but you hate this one.
That's not his team affiliation either.
But that's his number 1 tactic card.
Yeah, but if you're that close, you're getting cover, and it's great. Whatever. I'm not going to be relying on it. Like, I'm relying on I can sit there and go, cool. Magneto's power is I could just destroy a piece of terrain and pass out in an infinite range. To give somebody power.
Sounds like you're just used to laziness for team placement.
Have you seen who I play in Gloomhaven?
All right, so let's move on. I think there's some tricky ways to use this specifically with Cyclops that I want to point out. So, I think this on its face is not a super impressive sounding ability, but I think over the course of the game that this is going to be applicable more often than it's not. And it's also important to note this is for anyone on your team, not just Cyclops.
Yeah.
So does Wolverine need a Berserker Barrage and Cyclops and Storm happen to be nearby? Cool. Like, this can be a big force multiplier just based on where the battlefield is. Sometimes even the difference of 1 power could be enough.
Hey, Jake, what's the difference between a turn and a round?
Turn is any individual player's turn, which usually means an activation.
So if you had a defensive ability, because it doesn't say on your active.
Like,
let's say per turn, and now when declaring attack.
Let's say you take Venom.
Mm-hmm.
You could use this to pay for Venom's healing counterattack.
Yep.
So if you have any models which can declare an attack and during an opponent's turn for whatever reason, Venom is one of the big ones with his counter. I'm sure there's a couple other ones as well. Then you could use this affiliation bonus to fuel that.
Winter Soldier comes to mind where it's just like, oh, an ally got KO'd, I get to shoot somebody.
I think Winter Soldier specifically states he has to use his 0 cost attack, though.
Oh, you're right. You're actually right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think Venom might be one of the only current models where he can choose what attack to use
Because
when he
everything comes
retaliates.
back to Venom.
Venom is a good example for lots of reasons. All right, Field Leader. For 3 power, choose another allied character within range 4. That character advances short. A character can be made to advance by the superpower only once per turn. So, I
Mhm.
think this is neat. This is not a. I don't think this is going to be a core ability you're going to use every round, but I think this is a neat add-on ability. It's a little expensive.
It is a little expensive, but it is range 4.
If it was cost 2, I think this would be a staple because this is almost some Thanos level manipulation. Like Thanos has the place within short or place within range 2 for 2 power. So this costs 1 more, but it can target further away than Thanos can, and it is an advance,
Mhm.
which depending on the model could be roughly similar to 2. So I think this is a really powerful T movement ability.
I think it's actually Jake. I agree with you.
Cheers to that, friend.
I think it's overcost, but I think it's
Yeah.
actually a good movement
It's
shenanigans for your characters, especially like Wolverine and stuff.
right. Anyone with short movement, like again, Venom, would love having this ability. And it doesn't even have to be a team leader to use this. Cyclops just always has this.
Um, it's an advance, so you can also advance backwards.
Yes.
So
So they can move
a good
however they
thing.
need to.
It's a good thing to get behind cover, that kind of stuff.
All right. Then Cyclops has hit and run, which I think is a fundamental part of his kit. As an action, pay 2 power to immediately make an attack followed by a move action. This 2 power can only be used once per turn. So, I like this a lot because I see shenanigans. If Cyclops is your team leader, so let me describe a turn I had where I realized what might be a rare situation, but kind of highlighted for me as like the wheels clicked into place. And I'm like, is Cyclops good? I don't know. Then I had this turn. So, Cyclops was not my team leader. Otherwise, this would have been even easier. But I was able to spend 2 to use hit and run. I used Optic Blast, did like 2 damage, so made my energy back, and then I used my move to I also used the push off of Optic Blast to push someone into a certain position, and then I used the move from hit and run to line up Optic Devastation and catch 3 of Josh Drennan's models in a single beam.
That's exactly what that's supposed to be used for. Yes.
So if given that Optic Devastation costs 4, it's not going to be an every turn thing Cyclops can do. But if Cyclops is your team leader, and let's say that your beam position happens to put you next to 1 or 2 of your friendly models, that could really easily set up a 2 attack round where you can catch more models than your opponent had really left open. Beam attack is wide enough, unless you are specifically trying to spread your forces out, it is really easy to catch up to 2 models with a beam attack without much setup.
Yeah.
Like that's actually usually pretty easy. Cyclops being able to use his push to potentially move someone into position for a beam attack and then move and take that beam attack and do it consistently with his leadership ability, that's pretty sick.
I agree. That's
agree with you.
no. It's a good tactic. I agree with the tactic. It is basically you're banking on already having 2 power. You're banking on being able to get the wild to get the push, and then having 4 power after that.
Right.
Or 4 power, and you're using the team affiliation. And you're close to a bunch of buddies.
Yep, and especially since you have the move to reposition yourself. What I really like about this most of all, and granted, you could just move and Optic Devastation.
Yeah.
Like that's fine. Like even if you don't get the 2 attacks, the Cyclops hits relatively hard. Cyclops is not going to be necessarily your main damage dealer, but he has a range 4, attack 5, which is a good solid attack with a lot of range. And his Optic Devastation at 7 dice is probably going to do a few points of damage, even against good defenses.
Even ignoring that, if you just do hit and run, you're getting an attack, a move, and a second Optic Blast. That is still you're throwing 10 dice, and 2 sets of 5. So, you're kind of cheesing the system to get an extra move out of it.
Yeah, it makes Cyclops really mobile. He's going to hit solidly. Again, I don't think Cyclops is going to be necessarily your opening salvo, like Killmonger. I don't think it's going to be like a directed kill like Killmonger is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Cyclops, especially with his again, Beam 5 for 4 power is kind of expensive. If you're running him as your team affiliation and you keep some people nearby that are still doing work for objectives and can kind of power him up, you can do optic devastation much more frequently. And I think it becomes a premier tool for wearing down your opponent's team.
Is Beam affected by cover? Because I know you can target through things with Beam.
I think you would
it's...
still have cover against the attack, but it wouldn't prevent you from being targeted.
All right, so you can actually drop the beam down and attack through a wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
we'll have to double check on that.
Hit and run is good. It's always good in every single character, especially for 2.
Final ability is Quick Draw. When this character is targeted by an attack and the attacker is not within 2, this character may use this superpower. Instead of rolling dice equal to its defense, it rolls 5 defense dice. Then, if he took no damage, after the attack is resolved, the attacker suffers 2 damage.
Do not use this if they're throwing like a billion dice.
I mean, yeah, like read the room a little bit on that one. But what's interesting is the requirement on they can't be close to you. Means Cyclops is going to want to hang back.
I mean, he wants to hang back now anyway because he's a range 4 and a beam 5. So
yeah, Cyclops does not need to be near your opponents. But what's interesting too is a lot of enemy attacks that are of similar range tend to be only strength 4 or 5, which makes Quick Draw pretty relevant against those attacks. Like Black Widow, I think is a good example with her like range 4 pistol. It's only doing 4 dice, so a 5 dice defense is a decent chance of blocking it and doing some counterattack damage against a low health character. Quick Draw, I think, is interesting. I mean, it's also pretty useful. Even if they're doing a range 3 attack like Venom, you could still use Quick Draw against it because it's out further away than 2.
I mean, it's actually like this is a really good. It's a niche case, but it's a really good thing of like you attack Venom, Venom does his counterattack, and you immediately just go, cool, Quick Draw. So you're doing damage on their damage back to you.
Right. And if nothing else, it's 5 defense dice.
My cat is demanding attention.
So even if you don't get the counterattack damage back, it's still pay 2 to get 5 defense against any type of attack.
Yeah, I mean,
so this is a solid defensive ability.
Like I wouldn't.
Like heck, if I could just pay 2 power to get 5 defense against all attacks.
1 dice on physical extra is but getting 2 extra dice. Yes, cat. It's just like pay attention to me. I don't care what you're doing.
It's a cat. That's expected.
If you're like, I mean, 3 defense or anything that drops down your defense dice. So it's just like cool. I get to change one of your defense dice, or that's a bad example actually. But something that says you're reduced the total amount of defense dice you have. It just says you get 5. So do it.
I think you still roll 1 fewer from Incinerate.
But still, if you're still doing that, because it's still defense dice. But like say I go from 3 to 2 as opposed to a 5 to 4, that's amazing still.
Yeah. So overall, Cyclops' injured side is the same as his healthy side. So we can kind of quickly move back to just discussing the character overall.
Yep.
I think it's interesting because recently with the affiliations that came out, we kind of have had a run of 3 threat affiliation leaders. Miles Morales, Star-Lord, Mystique for Brotherhood, Storm is the other affiliation leader for X-Men. It's kind of nice just to have a solid, sturdy, I'm actually kind of hard to kill affiliation leader.
I mean, all right, so here's the problem. It is. Having 6 health on both sides is still just a great amount of health. Him not having a throw, it's just a push. I would have been happier if his optic blast had a throw. I'm not complaining about his push. Been happy about it. I do not think that his affiliation works with him. I think his affiliation works with the rest of the X-Men, but he wants to be at range 4 at all times. He wants to be towards the back, sniping stuff, maybe sitting on an objective, and just building up power. I don't see him wanting to be even midfield half the game.
So I kind of disagree a bit because I think he can. Well, as close he needs to get is 4. I think he's going to be comfortable getting closer because he is relatively sturdy. He does want to play at least 2 range 2 keep away so we can use quick draw. But a lot of characters have range 3 attacks that will try to go after him and may forget about the 2. I think he'd be good to bully short movement characters.
I mean, with his hit and run, I see him doing stuff like shooting, moving back on the field, and shooting again.
Yeah.
I really don't even see him midfield. Maybe a little bit further up than backfield, but you definitely do not want him like in the thick of things.
Yeah, like absolute worst case scenario. If you're in a melee crowd, you can use hit and run to back up out of there and then move again if you need to put some distance. He's not a skirmisher. I don't think he's going to be moving in and out of combat very quickly, but I think he can be really comfortable in a lot of scenarios which have sort of the 3 lanes of secure crises.
Yep.
Is he can park on your back one, or if things push to your opponent's field, you can move up to the middle and do consistent work. A lot of people kind of talk about Shuri. I think it'd be an interesting comparison where she has a similar range. She has similar sort of utility with her guaranteed pushes, and then she can support the team by giving energy. For rerolls, I also think of Iron Man, where if you just want someone who can camp on a point and not die.
Really? Did you want to go all right, the shittiest character in MCP
A lot of people are angry with us. I still think Iron Man is terrible.
Iron Man's
but
terrible.
A lot of people definitely were just like, his entire job is just to camp on a point and never die, and he's the best at that. I'm like, you're right, but that's boring.
Yeah, there's also other characters
now
that do
we've
that
got
better.
cooler. Now we've got cooler, better Iron Man who gets his beam attack all the time.
Exactly. I don't have to be wounded. Now, okay, so yes, he's one level up from Iron Man. I would like him in the Wakanda affiliation.
Which you could throw him in the Wakanda affiliation.
I mean, having him in the Wakanda affiliation, with also Shuri and just passing out power, I think that makes him great. I'm sorry, we say great. It makes him okay. It definitely makes him better than an X-Men.
So, let's look. There's one particular tactic card I want to mention for Cyclops that I think is interesting, called "To Me, My X-Men."
Oh god, this one.
So, a character with an uncanny X-Men leadership ability can spend any number of power to play this card. For each 1 power spent to play this card, 1 allied uncanny X-Men can advance short toward this character.
So they have to have the uncanny X-Men affiliation. They can't be like Winter Soldier or Venom or anything else. They have to have that specific thing.
But this is like a small Avengers Assemble. And what's interesting to me with Cyclops is if your opponent's just like, you don't have enough power to do things. I don't know if it's a good plan because you have to spend power off of Cyclops to play this card to make people move into him. But you could then potentially also have him move up, play this card. He's left on 1 power, but now he has enough people around him to power up Optic Devastation. And you've also pulled people back for scenario purposes.
At that point, you're spending, an extra 2 power plus 4 power? You're sitting on 6 power?
Well, I mean, the cost would be reduced with his affiliation ability. So you'd be spending roughly the same amount of power.
So you can do hit and run.
Moves out of it.
You can do hit and run, get a move, and do Optic Blast.
Yeah, that's not as cool as I thought it was going to be. Anyway, Cyclops.
Yeah.
I fully acknowledge he is not an incredible character,
I like how you
But
came in with this. Like, no, he's great. I'm gonna convince you, and you're like, he's okay.
Very funny
he's
with
a ranged
his.
blaster, and he's on an affiliation which honestly needed a solid ranged presence. It's the role that makes sense for him. I think his damage output is consistent. I think I really like having a beam 5 just on standby, even if he's not on affiliation.
I like him
Like
better than Winter
he gets a
Soldier.
couple.
I like Winter Soldier like an awful lot.
Mhm.
And I think Winter Soldier giving out bleed is a good idea, but having him be able to do a consistent range 4 or 5 attack at base, like 0 cost, is amazing. I like that. I
Yeah.
don't like him. Like I really don't like him being an X-Men. I like him being in almost every other faction I can possibly think of, except
Good
for
in any of
Dennis.
those factions.
Hmm.
Eh,
So it's interesting too because field leader, like his movement ability to order someone to move is interesting. It really is just like one power too expensive for me to reach for it because at that point it's cost 3. I either have enough to play it and Optic Devastation. I'll almost always choose to set up Optic Devastation.
exactly. I mean, the
Um,
thing is also with that, um, yeah, I can move another character short, but how often does that come up with that's so necessary? Like, it's great for like when you need to contest a point or you need to get somebody right where you need to, but at 3 cost, are you really going to be using that more than you're going to be using hit and run?
yep, it's gonna. I think it's gonna be one of those things where you don't need to use one of Cyclops' other abilities, but you've got energy, and so
Hmm.
if you get someone into position to better work out your turn, then I think Field Leader is going to be a really nice ability to have. And it really is kind of a bummer because I think Field Leader is probably the ability that made him 4 threat instead of 3 threat.
Oh, do you really
Um,
think that that's the thing
I think
was field
because
leader?
I think he's 4 threat partially because of his tactical maneuverability, which
You
is an
know,
advantage over being just a beat stick.
I think he would have been better then if you just took off field leader and just put him down to a 3.
Yeah, I think this now. Granted, his general defenses, his health, and his damage on his attacks probably are pretty close to putting him to 4 threat. Cyclops is one of those characters I feel like is a borderline. He
Crappy
he is a
character.
well he's a well specced out and really powerful 3 threat character with a couple extra abilities that puts him very solidly into 4 threat. It's just in this case, like the field leader being one of those abilities is like it's cool.
I mean,
I
if you even drop field leader and quick draw, like okay,
Mhm.
if you drop field leader, put quick draw on his wounded side, and just made him where he was just a I shoot things, he'd be a really solid 3 point character. But adding in field leader just makes him. It seems like he's got so many niche powers,
yeah.
and it feels weird putting him at a 4 if we're having all these like kind of powers that just line up kind of whenever it happens.
It's almost what you would call being well rounded.
Eh, it's
Is it
more
really
it's
well rounded if you can't really use all of his rounded edges?
yeah, it's more like an ellipse. It's
Well, I mean, there's also characters like Doctor Strange is a 5 threat team leader affiliation for defenders, and he's got all kinds of abilities on his card, and
but
you'll never have enough power to use all of them
he's
either.
5 threats, so because he can make people just go, oh no, punch him with energy. It's like
But he also has a ranged heal. He's the only character in the game that has an actual power that can
and
just heal people,
portals.
and portals with the tactics card. Also, he can just buff people's defense. He can spend power to give people 2 more dice on defense within 3 range of him.
But
Strange is
all
great. My point being is it's difficult to do all those things at once, and I think that's going to be common for most characters. And I don't want to knock Cyclops necessarily for that.
but all of that sounds more well rounded than what Cyclops does.
Yeah, it seems like
It,
he's going to be building up power so he can do his optic blast. But
But that's all he wants to do.
right, I mean, okay, if optic devastation was like 10 power, like throwing 10 dice at 4 power, I'd be like, that's amazing. That's insane. Especially with, like, he can have all his friends put their hands on him and just be like, go for it, Cyclops. You can do it for Jean. Like, I can see, like, that happening, but he seems like he's like, I want to do so many different things. And just go to Storm. Storm does almost the same exact stuff. She's a ranged attack. She does a bunch of other stuff. We'll talk about Storm later. But I
Yeah.
think Storm is a better leader for the X-Men than Cyclops. Right now, they made Cyclops exactly like he's in the comic. He's just a crappy character that does kind of things.
So now that we've come back to our starting positions, I urge you guys to give Cyclops a try, play him out, whether he's the
I
leader
don't.
or not. I think, again, I actually think Cyclops is going to be a really consistent performer. He's not going to necessarily swing for the fences. I think he might be more consistent at doing what he wants to do than like Punisher, for example.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a given.
So just give that a shot.
I, on the other
like
hand, thinks he is swinging for the fences in a little league game against like middle schoolers on a t-ball court. It's just, he is absolute crap. I think that he's
So
better
what,
in.
What you're saying is he will hit the home run no matter what?
No, he'll hit the ball off the tee and it'll just bounce kind of on the ground a little bit.
You need
And
to work on your analogy, sir.
I know, god damn it, it's not better in my head. But anyway, I
James,
think
here's an idea.
I.
What if you took Cyclops and Avengers? And then Field Leader becomes a 2-cost power.
Yeah, that's better.
He's thinking now.
Or
no,
hit
I
run.
agree with that. I agree
Hit
that
and run
Cyclops
becomes a 1-cost power.
I agree with Cyclops in any other affiliation is okay enough to be put in. Like, if you
I don't
put him
know.
in Avengers, he becomes goodish. Like, if you put him in Wakanda, he becomes goodish. If you put him in like a ball, he becomes goodish. Like, the only thing the only affiliation that I can't see him fitting in well is Black Order. I don't see him fitting well in Black Order at all. But, like, put him into Kingpin's affiliation, which does not come to my brain right now.
Criminal Syndicate?
Criminal Syndicate. Put him in that, where he's sitting on a back point and just, like, counting as 2 people. Because Summers counting as 2 people is better than a shitty 1 person. It's fine. Like,
I tell you what, though, as my closing argument, there's a special kind of terror for your opponent. When you have priority and Cyclops has been flipped and comes back as dazed and he's sitting on 6 or 7 power with his affiliation bonus, because you just know there's 2 optic devastations coming.
oh, that's terrifying. And congratulations, you got flipped and you have tons of power on you. At the same time, I'm just going to stun you.
Do you mean stagger?
No, I'm gonna stun you. Because,
Do you remember what stun does?
You only get 1 power per turn.
No, that's actually wrong. You only get 1 power. When you would gain more than 1 power, you gain 1 power.
1 power. Now, yes.
Actually, it is worth noting that with Cyclops' leadership ability, stun will actually not slow him down that much. Because you can't stun the entire team, can you?
But you're still spending their power. Okay, here's how you fix this. If X-Men Blue was, for a number of allied characters within 3, reduce the cost by 1, they don't have to spend the power.
That's too good. That's too good.
That would make it good.
Because they would all use their strongest attacks.
Exactly. And you'd have, like, Wolverine running off and doing a bunch of other stuff. That would make it better. The fact that they have to spend their power that they might have within 3 is just, okay, whatever. I don't like them. They're stupid.
Then don't buy them, James.
I already bought them. Comes with freaking something else.
Well, that sounds like you're the fool then.
No,
it does sound like you're the fool.
He comes with Storm, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you get 1 leader, you have to get both.
I bought Storm. That's what I bought. I bought Storm, and then I have Cyclops, so I can put him on a base where he's just dead underneath Thanos' feet.
That works.
I think you've got some stuff to work out. We'll talk about this between episodes.
Do we really want to?
No, game off.
Thanks everyone for watching. You can check us out on Facebook, here on this YouTube channel, as well as our Twitch streams on Wednesday and Sunday.
And I'm gonna go play
Yeah.
my soothsayer and be
Do nothing and be
lazy.
lazy again.
You're basically just gonna go play Cyclops in a different game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, game off.
Game off.